With the disappointment of that wild card loss still fresh in our memories, that doesn't mean that the Buffalo Bills front office isn't already looking ahead to the 2020-2021 NFL season. Welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to an update edition of Billievers Talk, where I'm going to update you on our Buffalo Bills and the most recent activity by our Buffalo Bills front office. Again, my name is Joe. If you are new to this channel, guys, I know that the offseason is here, and I know that a lot of you might feel like there's not much going on, but there's always something going on in the world of Buffalo sports, including our Buffalo Bills. So you want to make sure you hit that subscribe button. And after you hit that subscribe button, you want to make sure you hit that notification bell. It will make sure to let you know when we post new videos. We update you on our Buffalo Bills. So again, thank you guys for joining me in this edition. What I'm going to talk about is the most recent Buffalo Bills acquisitions. That's right, just because the season just ended does not mean that you can't still make some moves, and the Buffalo Bills do just that, signing 11 players to future contracts in the NFL. Now, I'm going to go over those names of those 11 players, and I'm also going to let you know exactly what an NFL futures contract is. Again, a lot of you might not know what that is or who is eligible to receive those contracts. So I'm giving you the names of those 11 players. I will say this: most of the time, a lot of these tags are used for practice squad type players. Okay, so if I read these names, some of them are going to sound familiar, and just because I read them doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be on the practice squad, but that's a lot of times what this type of contract indicates. Normally a lower contract number than what you might see from a starter in those positions. So let's go through these names and the positions, and it might tell us a little bit of something of the direction of the Buffalo Bills heading into that 2020-2021 regular season. So first we got Nate Becker, tight end. Then we start with these names that, again, some of you might be familiar with. We go to the linebacker, Terrell Dotson, wide receiver, Nick Easley. These are some of the guys that were on the Buffalo Bills 90-man roster last season. So it's really no surprise to see them brought back up this year and getting that future NFL contract. Then you got cornerback Cam Lewis. Remember, cornerback Cam Lewis played at the University of Buffalo, was an undrafted free agent at the end of the 2019 NFL draft. The Buffalo Bills bring him into training camp. Again, part of that 90-man roster, but he is unfortunately a cut right before the season begins. Then you talk about wide receiver, that name that we all are familiar with, that's Ray McCloud. Ray McCloud was a 6th-round draft pick by the Buffalo Bills in the 2018 NFL draft. He also was part of that 90-man roster to begin the 2019 NFL season, was cut, was picked up then by the Carolina Panthers, cut by them before he was picked back up by our Buffalo Bills. So Ray McCloud signing that future contract to be part of that 90-man roster at the start of the 2020-2021 season. Linebacker Del'Shawn Phillips, offensive lineman Victor Solaco, running back, a name that we're all interested in, running back Christian Wade. Remember, this past season, the Buffalo Bills had that 11th member of their practice squad eligible because of that international exemption that Christian Wade was a part of. We're not going to have that next season. So in order for Christian Wade to earn his time on even the practice squad, he's going to really have to earn it. So he was given a futures contract. Quarterback Davis Webb was also given a future contract by the Buffalo Bills. Davis Webb has seen some time on the Buffalo Bills 90-man roster in previous seasons, so no surprise there. Defensive end Jonathan Woodard was given a futures contract, and then just today, punter/kicker Carr Vedrick was given a future contract for our Buffalo Bills. So these are all guys that you can probably see, or you are probably going to see at some point next year as part of at least that 90-man roster, if not the 53-man roster. Out of the names I mentioned, who would you want to see making the 53-man roster? A lot of you would love to see Christian Wade make that 53-man roster, make that jump. What about Ray McCloud? Ray McCloud showed glimpses of pop in his short time with the Buffalo Bills. Remember, he did play for Buffalo on the active roster in 2018. Would we like to see a resurgence from him? Or are you a University of Buffalo fan and you would love to see Cam Lewis? Or is there another name on here that you would like to see? Again, I'll go through those 11 names again. You got tight end Nate Becker, linebacker Terrell Dotson, wide receiver Nick Easley, cornerback Cam Lewis, wide receiver Ray McLeod, linebacker Delshawn Phillips, offensive lineman Victor Sulaco, running back Christian Wade, quarterback Davis Webb, defensive end Jonathan Woodard, and also punter/kicker Carr Vedrick. So those are your 11 players. Again, let me know in the comment section if there's a guy that sticks out for you that you want to see not just make the practice squad, but make the 53-man roster. While you're at it, guys, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Like this video, really helps out the channel. I have nothing but great support all season long. Want to keep that going in the off season. Try to keep this channel growing so that way I can continue to give you breaking Buffalo Bills news. So now we want to talk about what exactly is a futures contract. What does that mean in NFL terms when we sign these players to future contracts? First, I want to tell you guys that this is not a rare occurrence. This is the time to be signing these future contracts towards the end of the season. Whoever your team is, whoever your favorite team might be, when you hit the end of the season for your team, you want to look at who's available for these future contracts and sign them before other teams do. Because when a team signs a future when a player signs a future contract with your team, that means no other team can touch him between now and the start of the 2020-2021 league year, which doesn't begin until March 18th. So from here till then, that they can't be looked at by another team. And another thing about a future contract that you may not know, the contract details, the money, the salary that the contract is about. First of all, it does not affect the 53-man roster. So whatever salary you sign in that futures contract, most of the time it's for somewhere around league minimum or veterans minimum, depending how long they've been in the league. But when you sign that futures contract, that does not affect the year's salary that you just ended, right? So for all these guys that sign future contracts, it does not affect the 2019-2020 league year. In fact, it does not go into effect until the start of the 2020-21 league year, which won't be until March 18th, 2020. So that's when the roster really, or the salary really goes into effect, and it does not affect the 53-man roster. It only affects the 90-man roster. So there are different rules for the 90-man roster as far as salary is concerned. This is where it would affect that. It does not affect the 53-man roster. They have to be cut down to by the end of preseason. So let's make sure we know that is that these future contracts work the same as an active roster contract, right? As far as salary goes, salary cap, cap charges, signing bonuses, incentives, things like that you'll see in a normal contract. Those could be in future contracts as well. However, they only affect the following league year. That's why it's called a future contract, because you're not getting paid until the future. So they only affect the coming year's salary, and it only goes into effect at the start of the league year. So in this case, that would be March 18th of 2020. Teams can sign as many players as they want to future contracts, as long as they abide by that 90-man roster. So you don't want to sign too many, because you have to think about your draft picks. You have to think about some of the guys that you had in last year. They want to bring back in undrafted free agents. You want to think about those as well as you continue to add pieces, add players to your 90-man roster. You do want to leave space, but a team can sign as many future contracts as they would like. So another thing about these future contracts, as I said earlier, the player then goes on a reserve futures list and can't be signed by any other NFL team. So when you look at the 11 names that the Bills just signed between yesterday and today, none of these guys can be signed by another team. We have them, we're guaranteed to have them at the start of the 2020 league year. So who is eligible for a futures contract? Which players are eligible? Which ones are not eligible for a futures contract? And it's pretty simple to break this down. if you were on a roster, if you were on an active roster at the end of the previous season, which in this case would be this season, the 2019-2020 NFL season, you are not eligible for a futures contract. In order to be eligible for a futures contract, you could not have been on an active roster at the end of the outgoing regular season. So if you were on an active roster at the end of the 2019-2020 NFL season, you cannot get a futures contract. For the 11 people that I named, they were not on an active roster. Some of these guys were on the Bills practice squad. Some of these guys were on practice squads elsewhere. Some of these guys were just free agents that we signed to this future deal, getting ready for that 90-man roster. So again, as I said in the opening, this Buffalo Bills front office doing a good job getting ready for that 2020-2021 NFL season. That might get tough to say after a while, but they're upset too, as we heard from Brandon Beane and Coach McDermott today. They are upset too, but that does not mean we cannot continue to look forward at the bright future for this team, and it starts right now with the signing of these future contracts. Again, guys, if you're looking for breaking Buffalo Bills news or Buffalo Bills information, whether it be roster information, we got free agency coming up, you got the draft coming up, you got so much going on. If you want the most breaking news, you want to subscribe to Believers Talk. After you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so it notifies you when we put up new videos. So again, thank you guys for joining us. While you're at it, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and let me know, out of those 11 guys that I named, who do you want to see make that 53-man roster next season, and who do you want maybe look at and say, ooh, they might not belong here, they might not fit the culture of our Buffalo Bills. Again, thank you guys for joining me on Believers Talk. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.